So again, welcome everybody here to the Martin Segal Theatre Center. My name is Frank Henschke. I'm the director of this center. We bridge academia and professional theatre, international and American theatre. And I think it's a great day here at the Segal Center, celebrating the work of our colleagues in Poland and a sensationally successful play we really wouldn't normally know about. And this is something what we do. We point our fingers to productions and also international global theatre events that we think it noteworthy. We also have Sishan Urgulu here with us. She just did a Gombrowicz piece, The Wedding, that went to Poland, got many awards, and so congratulations. I think it's the first American production, that really was celebrated in such a way and got the award. So there is something going on in back and forth. If you have a cell phone, maybe now take it out. I'll do the same. And see, it should say, what does it say? Silent. Not ring, it should say silent. Can you check? Can you take 1 second and see if it's all silent? And next to the many good news we hopefully want to hear this evening is also there is a reception afterwards, a fantastic one, organized by our friends from the Polish Cultural Institute. So we want to thank Maya and everybody involved. The Consul General of Poland was here this afternoon and spoke of the significance of this musical, the year 1989, which is such a significant and important one. And again, really thank you all for coming. We just watched 2 hours and 25 minutes. With no intermission, and we lost a bit of the audience. Yeah, so really it's great to come. I will ask some questions, so it will be 30 minutes, maybe 20, 30 minutes. We'll be talking. We have a Q&A with the audience, and then there will be a reception with what I heard, truly good food. Not CUNY or City University, like it's really good from here. So again, welcome. Who of you saw the film now? So almost everyone. And has anybody seen it in person? You saw it in person. So, I think it is really important. I saw it in person. It is important that we open our view, that we have a global view of the world. Problems facing us are global problems, whether it's violence against women, war, the climate catastrophe, the climate chaos, the homophobia and all of it, but also the fight for democracy and what to do. Do you stay and try to do something, or do you leave? I think something that Poland faced for a very long time. So now we're going to hear from our artists and our guests who flew in. All of you last night, you were in the airplane?
Is my mic working?
Yeah, we have to flip it on. Take this.
Okay, got it.
Yours on?
Yeah.
So,
I think it's like 2 a.m. in
2
our
a.m.
heads,
and
so forgive us if we're
so we have
not as smart as we would be at 7 p.m.
Well, but maybe you get deeper level when you take
Yeah, we might.
all what you normally hide and want to look good and say complicated sentences. So first of all, welcome. Really, thank you for coming over all the way to talk to actually you, but also would like to welcome our viewers on HowlRound. This is nationally streamed because we think it is something of importance. People should know about a theater production that is changing the landscape, had a political effect. Songs, as I said earlier, of this production were sung in the demonstrations before the Polish election in October, which was
5th.
also changed in a way we think, in a very good way. So theater as a memory machine is working in a tradition of Polish theater which still seems to break with everything we know about Polish theater. Maybe you all introduce yourself very briefly, who you are and what you do. Agata, could you start?
As I said before, I'm the director of Gdańsk Shakespeare Theatre, and I'm a co-producer of this show together with Juliusz Słowacki Theatre in Kraków.
Mirosław Wlekły, journalist and non-fiction writer, and I'm one of 3 co-authors of this musical. Nice to meet you.
Hi, my name is Melania Szymerowska, and I'm the producer of this musical. Thank you.
Wonderful, and again, thanks to the Polish Cultural Institute, a great institution. I think we have a couple of one, the Japan Society, French Cultural Services, Goethe, many others, of course, Romanian, but Polish Cultural Institute always has done excellent work, and you also once were at the helm of it before political changes actually
Yeah,
threw you out
I
of the
was
city.
changed by a political change.
But let's forget about these dark times. All is better now. Agata, what happened? How did this musical even exist? What was the first? When did you hear about it? How did it get off the ground?
I can tell you my story, but I think that at the very beginning, Mirek is the one to tell. But I actually joined the musical, and I have to be very honest about it. We have this saying in Poland that I'm eating all the cream of the cake. I don't know what's the English expression, but actually that's what I'm doing. But all the cake was prepared not by the others, because I also put a lot of effort and money, but I wasn't the one who created the idea. The director of Kraków Theatre called me one day, and he said, Agata, you're a dear friend of mine. I have this idea of doing like a Polish answer to Hamilton. Do you know this musical? And I said, of course I do. I saw it in New York. I lived in New York for 7 years. Yeah, but what do you mean? And he said, I would love to do a production about 1999 and the solidarity. And I just saw Hamilton, and I got so inspired that I'm thinking about, like, why don't we do a Polish hip hop thing? You know, Hamilton was so great. Why don't we think about a Polish version? Not a version of Hamilton, but, you know, it's like, why don't we do something like that? And since I lived in New York and I saw the success of Hamilton, I was like, I'm in, yeah, let's do it. And he said, so we've already been working on it. And so I joined the project in the middle when Mirek and the whole crew was working on it. But I brought half of the money, and I also gave the space because I live in Gdańsk, and it's all about Gdańsk and shipyard and Gdańsk heroes. So the very first opening night was in Gdańsk Shakespeare Theatre. The second opening night, as we call it, was in Kraków. We play it in both theaters. But this is how it all started. I joined in the middle. And I fought for it. I found money. The big marketing and PR, and then Melania, because we have two producers. Melania is our Gdańsk producer. There's also Iza Oleś, who was supposed to be here. Unfortunately, because of health reasons, she couldn't come, and she is the Kraków producer. So we did this production together. But how the idea came to Mirek and the company's head, he can tell you much more.
Interesting, but still it's good to know that the Shakespeare Theatre helped us to get a Polish rap musical. That is amazing. Yeah. And thanks to that great professor, you know, who had this vision for a Shakespeare Theatre in Gdańsk. Starting out of a small store on the street, and he said we should do a festival on the streets, and then hopefully slowly get a theater, and they built a beautiful theater. If you ever have the time to go there, beautiful city. Anyway, Mirosław, so tell us, when did it first enter your universe?
Mm-hmm. Yes, everything what Agata said is true. They hadn't been money during 1 year, maybe.
But tell first, what's the idea? Where did the idea come from?
She came to us like a god to offer us money.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, they did all the job. I just found some money, and I'm here talking to you.
That's good. You lived in America, and so you there.
You are the good aunt.
Yeah. So, but
that's
really,
how they call me.
What was the idea? How did it start?
I have to tell you, we are three. I'm the less important person in our three co-authors. The main important is Katarzyna Szyngiera, the theater director, which directed this musical, and also Marcin Napiórkowski, Professor Marcin Napiórkowski, which works in University of Warsaw and which invented this idea to make this musical. So before we had made some maybe 4 or 5 theater pieces together, and after one of them, after non-fiction theater piece about food production, the director of theater in Kraków asked us to make some new script, to write some new theater script. and he wanted us a script based on one of my book, which was story about Polish journalist and traveler Tony Halik, which was worker of NBC here in New York. But Katarzyna Szyngiera, my colleague, she didn't like this story at all. And Marcin Napiórkowski said, let's be Polish Lin-Manuel Miranda. Let's make Polish Hamilton. And me and Katarzyna, we said, you are really crazy. It's impossible. It's completely impossible because we can't, we aren't able to make musical. We don't know anything about musical. And we never been, we won't be Lin-Manuel Miranda in our life. It's completely impossible. But
so you never saw a musical before?
We did, but like nobody knew nothing.
Yeah, nobody
About producing it.
Yeah.
That's why we did it.
But Marcin,
we didn't realize
Marcin really convinced us to do it, and we went to the director of Kraków Theatre. She was a little bit disappointed because he wanted us from us completely another story, and probably he thought the same. You are quite crazy, yeah? But he said, okay, let's do it together.
He also is crazy.
He also is crazy. So we started to work during, as you told you, during 1 year, maybe. And after 1 year, Agata appeared.
So what was your idea when you sat down and said, we're going to do this? What was your vision? What was the story about? Why is it important to tell now?
We really wanted to make, to tell Polish audience beautiful like Disney, stories, beautiful story about our history. And in our opinion, all of us, this point of our history, 80s, was the most beautiful point of our history. We've never had such wonderful years like 80s. It was our opinion. I was only one which remembered a little bit that, because Katarzyna and Marcin were born in 80s, so they were extremely young at this time. But in our heads, that was the point, like Hamilton here, to show Polish people the beautiful point of our life.
I just want to add one thing. What Mirek is saying is that us in Poland, we love to celebrate all the big tragic moments in our history. We're very good at it. About all the battles we lost and how brave we were at those battles. And 1989 is our huge, positive, bloodless, happy victory. And it's not celebrated enough. So we said, let's be done with this dark, depressing moments in our history. Of course, we know they were there, and we always gonna be part of them. But we want, in play, you can hear, can we have finally this positive myth that will join us, not divide us? We wanted to celebrate something good. And also we need that, the world needs that right now. We don't need yet another depressing story. And Hamilton was this inspiration. Oh my God, we also have a thing like that. We also have our great positive myth, and it's 1989, where we really did a revolution that changed Europe with, it was completely bloodless. So that's what we really wanted to do.
Yes, and as well what is important, that I think that the world already forgot that this revolution became in our country, in Poland, not in Germany. But all world remember only about the wall in Berlin, yeah? But
because it's more
everything
visual.
became in our country, so that's why we invented to make this idea, to make this musical.
Well, it's an old advice for writers write something you know about, the Gdańsk shipyard. How far away is it from your theater?
10-minute walk.
10 minutes walk. So they did something local history that was world history, but they also told it, you know, through the views of families. But let's
And we had many protagonists at the opening night, but Lech Walesa, I haven't seen it yet. She hasn't.
Yeah.
No?
His wife, yeah.
His wife did,
Yeah.
But
though,
his wife-
so he hasn't yet.
From the producing point of view, what was complicated? What surprised you?
Oh, I think that this musical was a huge challenge for us because the distance between our theater, Kraków and Gdańsk is...
You have to know that Kraków is a very south of Poland, and
we
Gdańsk
are
is a
north
super
of- yeah.
north of Poland.
Yeah. So the first point why this is complicated, this was complicated, I think our budget also is very complicated because we had only no more money for doing this. I don't know what.
Chcesz mówić po polsku? To możesz powiedzieć. Okay, so I'll translate, Melania, if that's okay.
Sorry. W sumie wiele rzeczy, znaczy dystans przede wszystkim. Myślę, że to, że mieliśmy mały budżet na produkcję całości i na przykład, nie wiem, lodówka pochodzi od naszego inspicjenta, etc. również było jakimś wyzwaniem.
It's the big challenge was the budget. Even though I found half of it, I really appeared like at the very last moment, and I found what I could find in such a short time. But just to let you know, if you see Broadway productions and if you saw this one, the whole thing costed us approximately $200,000. This is really nothing for
Just
a
to
Broadway
compare,
production.
as far
Like
as I
really
know,
nothing.
Less than a million.
An off-Broadway production starts at 800,000 to $1 million.
Yeah.
A musical,
Yeah.
no musical leaves
Yeah,
under
so
5 million.
but we really did it because we didn't realize it's impossible. So Melania just said that the fridge, the fridge that you can see on stage is
Our stage manager,
yeah, it's the fridge of our stage manager.
From
So
his garden.
we found money to basically create the set, and every time we perform it in Gdańsk, I had 30 people coming from Kraków. They all have to stay at the hotel. We have 2 huge cars of set that have to come. So it just doesn't pay off. It's like only crazy people could do that. But we didn't expect such success. We didn't know it's going to be such success. We did it because we thought the idea is so great. Like, let's do it.
How many performances have you done by now?
Already over 150, which is a lot.
A lot for Poland. And
Exactly 158.
yeah,
So
and
it's-
when I was there, someone said sat next to me. I've seen it 15 times.
Yeah,
it's
there
really
are people.
true.
And
Someone-
we've just released music. You can also find it on Spotify for free, or another platform. But
It's the
I'm on
bestseller seller music
Yeah.
now in Poland.
It really
So,
touched what we are looking for in a way. What does theater do for us? Why should we go to theater? What is the meaning of theater? How can it influence? So it's really something sensational what you guys did. But what is at the center of that center? Is it, should you stay and should you go? Is it about immigration? Is it about couples? Is it about life?
What is it about, Frank?
Is it, I do not know. Is it about a political engagement to say we have to take up a fight? What did you feel was at the center of the story you wanted to tell?
Może ja teraz po polsku, dobra? Jeśli mogę. I will tell you in Polish and Agata will translate. Chcieliśmy pokazać przemiany polityczne, ale oczywiście na pierwszym planie chcieliśmy pokazać przede wszystkim historię osób.
We wanted to show political changes, but first of all, we wanted to see the story of people.
I to był bardzo długi proces myślenia, ponieważ my chyba przez pierwszy rok robiliśmy wywiady, rozmawialiśmy z tymi bohaterami.
And it was a very long process. For the first year, we've been talking and discussing all those subjects with our heroes that you can see on stage.
I my cały czas nie byliśmy przekonani, czy zdołamy to zrobić, czy warto to zrobić. I przełomową dla mnie rozmową była rozmowa z eksprezydentem Polski, z Aleksandrem Kwaśniewskim.
We were not sure if we even would be able to do it, but the breaking point for me was the conversation with Aleksander Kwaśniewski, the ex-president of Poland, former president of Poland.
Z nami na sali siedzi właśnie autor doskonałej książki o prezydencie, Aleksander Kaczorowski. Jestem zaszczycony, że tu przyszedł.
We have Aleksander Kaczorowski, the author of the book about Aleksander Kwaśniewski here.
Brawo.
I'm very honored that he is here with us.
I Aleksander Kwaśniewski, kiedy usłyszał o tym pomyśle, powiedział: musicie to zrobić, to jest ostatni moment, za chwilę już będzie za późno.
And Aleksander Kwaśniewski told them, you have to do it. That's the last moment. It's gonna be too late soon.
Powiedział: ja za chwilę wyciągnę telefony, poumawiam was na wywiady z nimi wszystkimi.
He said, okay, so let me just, I'll take my phone out and I'll just make a few calls and you'll meet everybody you need and just do it.
I tego naiwnego komunistę, którego tu widzieliście, to my zobaczyliśmy podczas rozmów z Aleksandrem Kwaśniewskim, który był i jest autentycznie zafascynowany swoimi oponentami z lat 80.
And the naive communist that you saw here is Aleksander Kwaśniewski. We really saw while talking to him, and he really was fascinated by his political opponents of the 80s.
No i po tym długim wstępie mogę powiedzieć, że po długim researchu postanowiliśmy z tej całej masy opozycji polskiej lat 80. wyłonić takie 3 pary, które postanowiliśmy zaprzyjaźnić ze sobą na scenie.
So after the really long research and discussions, we decided to choose 3 couples that we decided to put on stage next to each other and make friends. And those 3 couples again.
Wait, I think Melania, you had a comment?
No, thank you.
No i
Before
pokazać historię znaną, całkiem znaną Wałęsów, o wiele mniej znaną Kuroniów i zupełnie nieznaną do premiery naszego musicalu Historię Frasniuków.
And we decided out of like all these opposition people that were available to us and that we talked with, we decided to pick up those 3 couples. One couple whose stories is super well known, like Wałęsa and his wife. The other couple, that story is not that well known among Polish people, Jacek Kuroń and his wife Gaja. And the third story and the third couple, whose story is completely unknown because Władysław Frasyniuk told us the story of his first marriage. You can see his wife struggling with addictions and other, difficult stuff. Nobody knew that story. They were the first ones Władysław Frasyniuk told the story about, and they decided to choose those 3 protagonists and put them on stage.
So in a way, as we call it here, the theater of the real. So you did interviews and based it, instead of having a librettist and a composer, being up in the Catskills and coming up with a fun musical, you went out as journalists, as you are, in a way, and talked. How many people did you talk to?
40, 40, 50 maybe. And a lot of hours, yeah, of
And tell a little
interviews.
bit, who did you interview for this?
Najważniejsze znane osoby to eksprezydenci polscy, Lech Wałęsa i Aleksander Kwaśniewski.
The most important people are former Polish presidents, Lech Wałęsa and Aleksander Kwaśniewski.
Z osób, które tu widzieliśmy, żyjących, rozmawialiśmy właściwie ze wszystkimi.
Among the people that you saw on screen that are still alive, we spoke to all of them.
Z tych, którzy nie żyją, jak na przykład Anna Walentynowicz, staraliśmy się dojść jak najbliżej, czyli na przykład spotkaliśmy się z jej synem.
For those who are not anymore with us, we wanted to speak with the people closest to them. For example, you see Anna Walentynowicz, we spoke with her son.
Her son was in our musical and he was absolutely amazing about what...
Amazed, yeah. Her son came to the musical and he loved it, yes.
I czasami piosenki, utwory, które tu widzieliśmy, wynikały z wielomiesięcznych rozmów, z wielogodzinnych spotkań.
Some of the songs that you saw are the results of really many weeks, if not months, of talking to people.
a czasami z takich niemal impulsów. Tak jest w przypadku piosenki dość popularnej teraz w Polsce, czyli Danuta odbiera Nobla.
And some of them were just result of some kind of like an impulse. As we can see in the song, which is super popular right now since we released the album, we're like #1 on Spotify, and we're really competing with singers.
Taylor Swift.
With Taylor, no. Thank you, Frank. You're very kind. Since it's 2 a.m. in my head, I'll take it.
Z Danutą Wałęsą spotykaliśmy się potem wielokrotnie.
But the song Danuta Gets Nobel for Lech, that's the song that was the result of an impulse.
Z Danutą Wałęsą spotykaliśmy się potem wielokrotnie, ale tekst tej piosenki bazuje na 10-minutowej rozmowie telefonicznej Kasi z nią, pierwszej rozmowie, gdzie ona właściwie wszystkie te słowa zdążyła wypowiedzieć.
We met with her many times
Is
after.
the wife.
Of Lech Wałęsa, yeah. So if you remember the scene when she's getting the Nobel Prize, Mirek just said that the lyrics of the song is basically repeating the 10-minute telephone conversation that she had with the director of the show. She said all those things within the 10-minute conversation.
I staraliśmy się w tym musicalu, w tekstach piosenek jak najwięcej autentycznych słów i zdań przemycić, więc jeśli pada ze sceny sformułowanie, że parasola nie da się w dupie schować, to naprawdę Lech Wałęsa jej wypowiedział.
Oh wow, I don't remember how it was translated into English, what you just said, but he said that there are many authentic words, and Lech Wałęsa in Poland is famous for his very specific, sometimes explicit language, and he said this thing that you cannot you cannot really hide an umbrella in your bottom, in your buttocks. So, so if there's something you cannot really hide, you cannot hide the umbrella in your behind. So those words were really said by the people they interviewed, and you can find them in the show.
I found the show had a very strong female presence, a women character. Was that just what you discovered through the interviews? Was it a reflection, or did you say we have to highlight it? What?
Często zadaje nam się to pytanie, a my zawsze odpowiadamy, że kobiety są w musicalu, bo kobiety po prostu były w tych historiach i kobiety są wśród nas.
This question we're being asked very often, and our answer always is that women are in this musical because women were part of history and women are among us.
Nie byłoby Wałęsy bez Danuty, nie byłoby Kuronia bez Gai, nie byłoby Frasyniuka bez Krysi.
And Borusewicz without Alina Pienkowska.
Tak, oczywiście, że tak. Alina Pienkowska. I to ja nie mogę powiedzieć, że my chcieliśmy świat do góry nogami postawić poprzez to pokazanie, to podbicie kobiet. To było dla nas od początku coś naturalnego i od początku chcieliśmy, żeby te kobiety były, bo kobiety po prostu są.
There wouldn't be Lech without Danuta, no Jacek without Gaja, no Władek without Krystyna, no Borusewicz without his wife Alina. We didn't want to turn the world upside down by showing the women. It was absolutely natural for us. And as I said before, women are among us.
A przy okazji odkryliśmy tak dramatyczne historie jak Krystyny Frasyniuk, która właściwie w tej traumie, której nabawiła się w latach 80., prawie pół wieku temu, w tej traumie żyje do dzisiaj.
And by accident, we also discovered traumatic history of women, like this of Władysław Frasyniuk, wife whose trauma, who's been in trauma since the 80s till today.
I think also here at the Graduate Center, for example, the research on the civil rights movement, where also women were so deeply involved, were so fundamentally important for it, but they are kind of overlooked. And now it's slowly coming out, the food drives, community work, the political work. And I think this is also a quite remarkable. Instead of giving the speech of Wałęsa for his Nobel Prize, you decided a different, right, dramaturgical trick. What did you do?
Bo to jest właśnie to, co Danuta Wałęsa zdążyła Kasi powiedzieć podczas pierwszej rozmowy telefonicznej. Tam są naprawdę niektóre wersy są utworzone z autentycznych i wypowiedzianych przez nią zdań w książce.
This is exactly what Danuta Wałęsa said to the director of the show over the phone, and some of the lines are exactly the same.
So instead of using what I would probably do, or what Lech Walesa said when he finally got the Nobel Prize, they say what his wife, her comments, what she might say, if I understand right, if she had to give a speech. It's quite radical. So we have a tradition of Polish ensemble theater, physical theater, which is a great tradition. We have musical theater, and then the kind of a documentary theater or theater of a reader. It's quite an interesting combination, very long also, 2.5 hours, very fast moving. Even Hamilton had a slower speed. I think it slowed down in time. How come you decided that it's this Concorde, this ultra jet plane? So did you, the speed is remarkable, the energy level. So tell us a bit.
Chyba nam się spod kontroli to tempo wymknęło, co w takim razie?
Yeah, it's like since Mirek said that it looks like the speed is just like it was just like a little bit out of control. It's like the whole thing.
Przyznam, że naszym marzeniem było nie tylko być polskimi Linami, Manuelami, Mirandami, tylko zrobić taki właśnie musical, w którym właściwie nie będzie słów wypowiadanych, tylko będzie cały śpiewany, rapowany. No i trochę się rozpędziliśmy chyba.
Our goal was not only to be Lin-Manuel Miranda, but also to do the musical with no words, no speaking words. We wanted the whole thing to be sung. We didn't want anybody talking, just singing, and it just went out of control.
Ale tak już na poważnie odpowiadając, to naszymi rozmówcami byli 60-70-latkowie, a byli oni wszyscy tak wielką energią naładowani, że to chyba oni sprawili, że ten musical ma taki
trying to answer seriously this question, people we spoke with were in their 60s and 70s mostly, and their energy were so high when they were talking about it. They were so emotional about the subject that actually this energy you see on stage is theirs, not ours.
Incredible. I also think it's true. It gives you a feeling of the atmosphere, of what it was, how fast it moved. And speaking of Shakespeare, so many also point out, if you listen to his words, his rhymes, which you cannot follow, they are so fast and they're almost sung. You know, if you slow down words, they sound spoken words back just like music also. So there is some tradition that and put this together. The reception was sensational, as you say, sold out. But I cannot imagine that it was without controversy. I was there in the museum I think it was World War II, where there was a big scandal that the museum director put a tiny video clip on of something which was undistinct, but was not really even able to read what it meant, but it was a national scandal. So how were reactions on both sides, or was it just a success?
We were counting on a national scandal. You know, it always helps promotion. From the producing kind of point of view, but we had no scandal. We had some controversies, and actually we had a lot of questions why there was no church, why there was no this and that specific person, why did you focus on those three couples, not on others. So there were more like, why did you do this Polish wedding? What is it about? Why did you put Wałęsa as an agent? This is the controversial scene for some. But there were no controversies as like, this story is not true. It wasn't like that. No, not controversies like that. I think that the most common one was why there was no church. The role of church was very important. Why didn't you put it in the play? So maybe Mirek wants to ask, if I can ask
maybe
your
the
question.
Producer said no.
No, the producer didn't say that.
For example, I was very afraid of reception of Borusewicz. This was guy with glasses, and Borusewicz now is very serious politician, very serious man, and I was really afraid. I thought he will come and he wouldn't like this musical, and he came in Gdańsk. He was on the first.
He
like
comes
on
to our
premiere.
theater very often.
He said something, oh my God, everything like it was in the 80s.
But-
it was me on the stage.
But the funny thing is that at the opening night, because so many things are going on stage, he didn't notice that there's a scene of him marrying Alina. You can see it. There's like they're kissing, but it only takes like 5 seconds. That there's like a very quick wedding, and somebody told him after the opening night, "Oh my God, there was really the scene of you marrying Alina," and he said, "There was? Oh, it was like too fast. I missed it." So when he came again, he could see it properly.
Were there discussions on the tone of the musical? The history of Solidarność ultimately, of course, was successful, but if you look closer, and they have this brilliant Solidarność museum, before the kind of successful strike 10 years earlier, so many people got killed from the union workers, and actually the strike came to fruition because a union member or someone who worked so hard to bring change, he had worked for 30 years, and a week before her pension, they said, "No, you're fired." And this is why that spontaneous uprising came at the shipyard, where someone said there were people who used to work together with something with their hands to something much bigger than they are, gigantic ships, and they trusted each other, and they knew, what to do, and they controlled also the territory of where that happened. But still, after this success that, somehow they said, okay, you can have a union and maybe election, whatever, they went to jail. 2,000, 3,000 Solidarność members. People died, if I also understand. And it was not clear would the marshal would, what would happen? Would people be shot or not? Would Russia invade, then do what they did in Hungary or in Czech Republic? The musical has these, I think, beautiful energy and so on. How did you discuss that? It should be on that note, how it was, the fast, the speed, the energy, the optimism, we can do it, the kind of roadrunner energy of it? Or did you say we consciously get away from very also tragic moments of the history of Solidarność, which you tell us?
Się zastanawiam, jak na to pytanie odpowiedzieć, bo wiesz co, ja mam wrażenie, że tam wybrzmiewa ten tragizm pomiędzy tą disneyowską baśnią, o której ja mówiłem. My cały czas, jak pracowaliśmy nad tym, to ja to często powtarzałem, że fajnie byłoby zrobić taką pierwszą disneyowską baśń, której my nigdy nie mieliśmy, bo wciąż tylko o naszych dramatach opowiadamy.
Well, in a way I have a feeling that you can feel this tragic aspect of it as well, but my goal was to really do this first in our history, Disney, like Disney kind of story that we've never had, because we've always been, inside those tragic moments in our history. So I was dreaming, Mirek says, I was dreaming of making this first like Disney history, a story that we've never had before.
I ten tragizm się bardziej na takim poziomie metaforycznym pojawia. Tam jest jakaś krew, ale nie wiadomo, co to za krew.
So the tragic of it, you can see more in a metaphorical level, like there is some blood you can see, but we don't know what blood it is exactly, just blood.
A naprawdę czarne charaktery, jak generałowie Jaruzelski i Kiszczak, są w sposób, jak Państwo widzieli, całkiem humorystyczne ukazanie.
And the bad people, the black characters like General Jaruzelski or Kiszczak are presented in a comical way. Yeah.
I oczywiście moglibyśmy po raz setny pokazać tę złowrogość tych komunistów, natomiast postanowiliśmy po raz pierwszy przedstawić ich w sposób przewrotny i zupełnie nowy, jak na polski teatr czy kino.
Of course, we could show the communists in a very typical Polish, tragic and bad way, but we decided to do something different, to show them the way, even like when we show them in a comic way. This is the new way of presenting bad communists in Polish. There were no such tools used by the Polish theater or film before.
I oczywiście nie będziemy ukrywać naszych inspiracji, no bo generał Jaruzelski w naszym musicalu jest tym królem Jerzym z Hamiltona oczywiście.
And of course, our inspiration was King Jerry from Hamilton when we were presenting General Jaruzelski.
No, it is truly a remarkable production. What did it mean for your theater? 10 years old and doing this production.
What is it?
What did it mean?
Well, it meant a lot for me because I became the director of the theater 3 years ago, and I did it after like not even a month of my first year. So this is something I cannot beat right now, you know? It's like I had a huge success. So what's next? Everybody's asking, and it's really tough for me.
We are waiting.
So when you have a success in the first year of your term, now everybody's like, oh, great, so what's gonna be next? So I really have to think hard. But for our theater, it's not for our theater, it's for Gdańsk, because this story was so much needed, and you have to know that we perform it twice a day. So we can imagine those actors performing it twice a day, at noon and then at 7 p.m. Because once they come from Kraków, you know, I'm the producer. I want to squeeze as much as possible this lemon. But we perform it
Twice a day for 6 days.
Yes. So we perform it at 12 for the school kids. And what we did is we prepared lessons. So there is no school kid that would come to the musical without having a lesson with their teacher in their school about who the characters are, what is the story about, what was the solidarity, about everything. So when they come to the theater, they're really prepared. They already had the lesson with their teachers. And this is super important for us because we know that that's a super cool form of education, that we're not teaching a boring history of Poland, but the kids are actually coming to a hip-hop musical, that history can be interesting. That's what Hamilton did also to history, learn how we can learn about boring history, who likes to learn about something, you know, a few hundred years ago, in an interesting way. So that's what's really important for us. But you can also see how different audiences react in Kraków and in Gdańsk. Because in Kraków is a very noble town. Everybody is kind of stiff. So after like the third song, they're still not clapping. When I saw it there for the first time, I said, what's wrong? Don't they like it? And the director of Kraków Theatre said, no, they love it. And I said, well, so nobody is like, everybody's sitting like this, and they behave there in the theater, you know, so they're not, but while in Gdańsk, because somebody in the family had somebody who was in that shipyard, my uncle, my grandfather, people are just standing after the first song. They're so spontaneous that those two reactions of the audiences are always super shocking for me. Whenever I'm in Kraków, people, only at the very end, they show their enthusiasm. Throughout the show, they're very polite.
Yeah, there was a story about them. Let's talk about this theater elite, if I may say that word. I mean, you have that history of Tadeusz Kantor, of Kortowski. There is Witkiewicz, Gombrowicz, and so many others. A musical, which in Germany people, you know, since Brecht, nobody has been able, the Three Penny, but nobody did successfully a musical. What you did, nobody has done, as far as I know. A musical and hip hop. What did the theater people, like the whatever, you know, the establishment, what did they really think?
I mean, nobody believed in us. And just one more thing, I'm sorry this is gonna be about me, but the story is actually funny. I came to Gdańsk from Poznań. I am not a person from Gdańsk whatsoever. And when I was looking for money, I also went to city officials and I got some money. And I said, hey, I'm here from a different town and I'm going to tell you the history of solidarity with the guy from Kraków. And they're like, great, we're from Gdańsk and we're here. And you will tell us, it's like, we have this expression in Poland, like bringing woods to the forest. That's what we wanted to do. So they said, really hip-hop musical about solidarity made by people who are not from Gdańsk.
No musical actors.
Yeah, and no musical actors, and you really have like no budget. Good luck. So that was the first reaction. And actually, I think that at that point when they were looking for money, I was the only one, maybe because I lived in New York, and I know that impossible might be possible. And I had this experience of 7 years living here really, and knowing that sometimes you can make impossible possible. I said, I'm in immediately, and we made it.
And everybody changed their mind, or did also people say, oh, it's just...
Oh, after the opening night,
commercial,
everybody changed their mind, yeah. But before that, I was very nervous before the opening night.
Yeah, nobody believed in our project. That's right.
As a producer, also all of you, what was, before we come now to audience question, what was complicated? What was the most complicated, and what did you learn?
Yes. Tak, dobra. Jesteśmy teatrem impresaryjnym dla nas, dla strony gdańskiej, więc teraz trochę o nas. Największym problemem było brak odpowiedniej obsługi do tego spektaklu. Ja wszystkich ludzi musiałam dotrudnić z zewnątrz. My jesteśmy teatrem impresaryjnym, my nie mamy własnych spektakli, więc nie potrzebujemy charakteryzatorek, garderobianych, obsługi technicznej w takiej ilości, która w tym spektaklu, jak widać, zresztą jak widzieli Państwo, była potrzebna.
The problem for Melania and for us in Gdańsk is that, as you know, most theater in Poland are ensemble theaters. Culture is being subsidized by government, so theaters have actors, have all those workshops, hairdressers in-house. Everybody is there, employed permanently. We don't have it. We actually work in a very American way. We are a production house. We hire when we need. So when I said yes to the production and I gave it to my people, Melania was like, okay, great, but I don't have this whole crew needed to do that production. So she had to hire basically everybody, every hairdresser, and it's all budget, while the theater in Kraków had it all and had all these people permanently employed on everyday basis. So that was a huge, and still is, a really big challenge for us.
Na szczęście ten spektakl jest tak niesamowity i ma tak niesamowitą energię, że wszystkie te charakteryzatorki, garderobiane i pozostała obsługa, która przyszła tylko na chwilę, zawsze jest na każdym spektaklu.
But fortunately, this performance is so amazing and energetically involving that all the people that came just to stay with us for the opening night and maybe for a few shows have been with us till today. So the whole crew is still there, even though they have other jobs and they're very busy people on an everyday basis. Whenever we perform in Gdańsk, they're there.
And also as a little observation at the very end, I do remember this beautiful Shakespeare Theatre. It actually looks like a postmodern ship. It's a brick building, very flat. From the outside, it almost.
Some people call it a coffin.
A coffin, you know. When you get inside, it's
Also
light.
mausoleum.
It's wood, almost like here in a kind of a Shakespearean, different levels. But then they have something. They open the sky if they want.
We have an opening roof.
They open the roof. So like in the old ship. So after the production, we saw, not only, they won the election, a roof.
Yeah, it makes an impression that when at the very end, the roof opens within 3 minutes and the stars are shining.
There is something, we have this piece in that theater, at that moment in time, in that town, that changed the world. Also World War II started, very close to Gdańsk, right?
In Gdańsk, in Westerplatte.
The Solidarność movement, that was the beginning, actually, of the opening of the wall, as my German friends always say. It's not. We also worked for it, I don't think they worked maybe as strongly as the Solidarność people, but still, it changed the course of it. A couple of people in a shipyard that said, we're not leaving, we're staying, and we're taking risks. It's a sensational story, and I think I also saw the museum, which is beautiful, a great museum on Solidarność in Gdańsk, if you're there, next to the World War II Museum. But that musical, most probably because it tells emotion, it tells you what it is. Goethe, the famous German writer, had a friend Humboldt who was collecting stones and feathers and animals, and Goethe told him, no one's going to know how the sunset or this looks on a volcano in Latin America. You have to write about it. You have to convey emotions. And Humboldt did. He was a travel journalist in that way, and I think that's also what you did. But enough of me. So let's have a couple of questions, and then we can get to our really great food. So 1, 2, 3. Okay.
I'm high on art, not on anything else. So I hope I can be cogent and coherent. First of all, thank you, Frank. You are a gem in New York City because you bring the best art. You are not a producer, you are an artist. Thank you so much. I've been here so many times, and you bring the best art from any corner of this planet. Thank you, the Polish gang, for coming here, because I care about Polish art, Poland, and I'm also from Gdańsk. I was born here. So I have some comments which are praises and one tiny criticism. But then I'm interested in what non-Poles have to say about this musical, because I'm a Pole living in New York City. I'm prejudiced toward Poland, I mean, in a good way. So, first of all, what a fantastic idea. The lyrics are very clear. I think the idea is magnificent. To show the world was 1989 and prior what it was. You have chosen very good fragments from Polish history, as far as I know. I'm a humanist, I'm not very good at history, but you have chosen a very good representation of what was happening in Poland prior to 1989 and the finale. I'm amazed that I can understand every word the actors are saying. It's so difficult in hip-hop, for heaven's sake. Even in English, you don't understand very often what the people are singing. There are so many good things. I mean, the images, my only criticism is that I don't like the idea that the first half of the show was sort of serving the hip-hop. You were sort of trying to just sort of present so much information. It was so dense in all these wonderful, but it was in the service of hip-hop, in rhyming. The second half was so much more, it presented intrinsic Polish culture and word means of expression that we could get the mood, the tone, and the depth what happened in Poland. I don't agree with you. It's not a Disney story. We want to know what happened in Poland with all the weight and also the positive, positive expression that we did it, right? We did it somehow. And so what am I trying to say? I want to know, non-Poles, whether what you are, how you got it, because I am projecting my thoughts, right? And how you get the whole story. And I want to see it again, so make it happen, for heaven's sake. It can't be just a one-time screening at CUNY.
They will create a film, but what was the second was? Over here, yes. But we'll come back to your
Okay.
Yes, my name is Bogdan. I lived through Solidarity in Warsaw, and for 30 years I live in New York. And from this perspective, I really want to say you the great support and thank you for your efforts while preparing, how it was difficult. And it required so long time just to start it, to do this. And this is one question, because I think that the idea of solidarity was lost in history. You probably remember when Wałęsa received $2 million from the producer from Hollywood for the rights for writing the story, or for presenting the story of his life. But what happened with this? Nothing. We have no production. Do you think that it overgrew the Californians to prepare something which is true, beautiful, like, for example, about the India hero, about the Gandhi? No, maybe it requires maybe 50 years more just to be able to do. What do you think? It was the same difficulty make you think that an American were not able to prepare such a situation? And the one question, very short. You mentioned about Brezhnev, yeah? But I very regret that you forget about Gorbachev. Because really, Gorbachev was a good Russian who helped Polish also solidarity movement. And it was worth to mention it. But it's only minor thing.
But I want to say that we didn't pay Wałęsa a dime.
Yeah, especially in the Putin time. For the good Russians and bad Russians.
Tu jest wielka racja Gorbaczowa. Postać jest niezmiernie ważna w tej historii, ale nie wszystko dało się zawrzeć w dwugodzinnym musicalu.
Gorbachev indeed is a very important person in this story, but it was impossible to put everybody in a 2-hour musical.
Natomiast co do Hollywoodu, to muszę powiedzieć, że pierwszym takim naszym impulsem, popychadłem, żeby to zrobić, był prezydent Aleksander Kwaśniewski, już to mówiłem, ale drugą taką osobą był Władysław Frasyniuk, który powiedział, że chętnie z wami porozmawiam, opowiem to po raz 100, tę moją historię, ale ja już nie wierzę, że w Polsce można zrobić fajną historię o Solidarności, bo zdolny do opowiedzenia naszej historii byłby tylko Quentin Tarantino, ale wielkie Hollywood się nami niestety już nie zainteresuje, więc ja w was nie wierzę. Taki był jego pierwszy komunikat.
So then, as I said, the first impulse to make the movie and the person who believed in us was former President Aleksander Kwaśniewski. And the second one was Władysław Frasyniuk, who said, yeah, sure, I'll talk to you, I'll tell my story for the 100th times, but I don't really think you're able to tell it in an interesting way. Maybe the only one who could really make it exciting would be Quentin Tarantino, but well, you're not him, so not really.
But he saw the musical and he's changed.
I mean, Quentin didn't, but Władysław did.
Not only Quentin Tarantino, but Katarzyna Szyngiera as well.
Do it.
Yes.
So I actually want to begin with a kind of an answer to what you asked at the beginning about someone who's, I'm kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I'm from America, but I do a lot of work with Polish theater, and I know Agata and others from all kinds of work. But so first, my comment is, I was really fascinated by the idea that you do this as an educational program. And I think that's a really powerful idea for exporting. So my work is to deal with how can we bring work from Poland to American audiences. This is what I've done for 30 years in different ways. And then also how can we successfully send things from here back or have people
I
here
have to
do
say that
Polish
Professor Alan Kucharski is a huge promoter of Polish culture in the US.
And we both went through a difficult 8 years for a while there with peace. So so I really think there's something very powerful potentially if we could find a way to adapt these educational programs that in Poland are for school children for the international audience. Because the piece, there's so much there's historical detail people don't know, but also there's so much, I'm watching it, I'm going, this is actually a classic example of what's great about Polish theater and impossible about Polish theater, is it's so much self-referentiality. And that part of I'm appreciating, because I do know, when it's quoting Wesela, when it's quoting Mickiewicz and Jade, and like How do you know, that you need something, and maybe it's 10 minutes with an audience to say, these things are in there, and I don't think they should be cut. I think they should, how can you cut the hohu? How can you cut the woman in the straw costume? You can't, but if you know Polish theater, it's incredible. And it's incredible if you don't know anything, but it's more incredible if you do. So I feel like, to me, that would be my thought, is we need to turn this into an educational, cultural, historical promotion with a great show, and it's not pedantic. But then I guess my question, this leads to my question, which is related, which is, have you had any experience taking this abroad? Have you had any experience with foreign audiences, and have you thought through, other than something like tonight, how this could ever be taken outside of Poland? Because it's obviously, it's proven itself in Poland, but what about beyond?
So if I can answer that, I organized a study visit. Since I worked here, and I know that New York is a tricky place. You might think you did something fantastic, but then, one New York Times critics come and you're done. So I said before, I know, yeah, that's a yeah, they believed in themselves, so, yeah. So what I did is okay, before we even start doing anything, I would like to bring some Americans to show them the show, to tell me the truth, or not even the truth, because they're going to be their own truth, but the potential. So I had Frank Henschker coming to Poland, and that's the result of the study visit. We're here. Frank invited us and believed in us. And I had Jay Wegman, the director of New York's Kerbal Center, and also Adam Feldman, the musical critic for Time Out New York. And Frank, you want to tell more about that? I think that Frank believed in us. That's why we're here. The other two gentlemen, I actually do not want to speak for them right now, but what they told me is that they see the potential, they understand why it made such a great impression of Polish audience. They were there, they saw it, they saw 10-minute standing ovation. They cannot deny what they see, but they said Americans won't understand it. It's too complicated. It's like too many characters. Why don't you do it just one person like Wałęsa and his story like Hamilton? Well, people will go there. It's like there's no one song that we can remember. It's too much. No one will get it. So that's an honest answer.
There's no song Hamilton.
Yeah.
So I have two more. You can one you, and then you'll have you at the end. Okay. So two more questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the thing is that I'm from Colombia, South America. So during the 80s, we had this problem with the cartels. So we used to watch a lot of TV news. Always in the international section of the TV news, there was Lech Walesa and Solidarity and all this thing. So in the other side of the world, like answering your question, I saw that everything was gray. And these Lada cars and the Zastavas and all these cars from the USSR. And I saw that in black and white. So I really liked the recreation that you did of the interview in the play. So watching this version is like watching in color. I do remember, and I do agree that this is like a Disney look. I do remember that when I was a kid, I saw the Sesame Street, but in black and white. Suddenly, it came in color, and it was magical. So when I see this, and when I see Lech Walesa, the one thing that I miss is maybe the mustache in the actor. But yeah, but the mustache, yeah, right. Because I wanted to have I don't have a mustache, and that guy has, but Walesa has a mustache.
Metaphorical.
Yeah, well, but the thing is that from the other side of the universe, of the world, in this case Latin America, Colombia, mangoes and everything, green, this allows me to see the color of Poland and the people of Poland.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
So our final.
Final? Okay. Should I? I can't because my knee hurts. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you. That was really inspiring. And I have to say two things. One, I would never use the word of Disney. I mean, Poland created incredible theater world for us, inspiring and, of course, educational world. We understood from Cantor that theater could be different. We didn't know before. So when I look at this musical, I am thinking, fuck, why we didn't do it? Why the others didn't do it? And of course Poland did it. Of course Poland would do it, because with this legacy, with this incredible history behind the theatrical world, creating a new inventive world, and I realized, oh, actually, I like this. And I never liked the Broadway musicals. I refused to go. I didn't go to Hamilton, just thinking that, oh, it's gonna be decorative fucking history. I will not listen that. But here, what I am hearing and what I'm seeing is, first of all, incredible bodies, physically trained, can sing, can move, and incredibly deeply thought emotional state they can create. And it is so visible. It is so incredibly inspiring. Because when you go to the Disney World musical, I am not really understanding what is going on. To me, they are more complicated than this. This is actually clear, crystal clear story of history, real, documentary qualities, amazing acting qualities and directing qualities, and it's not decorated. It is real. So thank you. Thank you for creating something like this, inspiring, and I think is very, very new and inventive in the theater. So please don't use the word of Disney, because it's not.
Thank you.
So thank you for all you said and showing Poland in color. I think we have to go. I think we got to go ahead because we are over time. I'm sorry, but you can ask. I think I would like to thank you. Let's say again, thank you to you guys flying in, creating the work, being here, and all of you to come. And we're going to go directly to the reception. I apologize, but let's go ahead, and then slowly we will also move on to the election night, which we have tonight. And we thought here at the Segal there's a direct connection to
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.